Hi, my name is Richard Crooks from the Destination Staffordshire team. This is the final video in a series of 3 helping you to build your visual brand as a tourism business here in Staffordshire. This final one is about bringing your brand to life visually. So far we've focused on the groundwork in creating a brand. Having watched the previous 2 videos and having carried out the relevant exercises, I hope you have, you should now be in a position to work out what your brand promise is, how you promise to make your customer feel, how that promise will permeate into everything you do, not just your marketing, but in terms of your product or service, your behaviours, and the environment that you create. Remember, a brand is not just about what you say, it's also about everything that you do. And finally, how you communicate your brand promise in a simple way by using the golden circle model of why, how, what. Clearly able to articulate why you do what you do, how you do it, and what it is that you do. Now, in this video, we're going to think about who is your target market, who you are going to aim your communication at, or your brand promise at. This is the final part of the jigsaw before we finally touch on everything that you've got and transmitting it visually to your customers. There's an old saying, try to be everything to everyone and you become nothing to nobody. While the same is true in branding, you need to be clear about who your target customers are so that you can communicate in words and visuals that resonate with them. There's a really simple way to demonstrate what I mean by this in the tourism sector here in Staffordshire. There are 2 well-known theme parks, as you know, Drayton Manor and Alton Towers. The 2 have different target markets. Drayton Manor, as you can see here, is geared far more towards families with young children. Alton Towers, as you can see here, on the other hand, is far more targeted at teenagers and young adults. And if you think about it, that makes sense in the types of experiences or the promise that each offers. Drayton Manor is much more for young children, the likes of Thomasland, while the Alton Towers has risen on much more for thrill-seeking teenagers. So when it came to Halloween last year, you can see the difference in their visual branding, different types of visual branding and different brand promises for different target markets based on the experience being promised. So you have Drayton Manor clearly targeting the treat of family evening out with young children, while Alton Towers promises spine-tingling terror for teenagers and young adults. So the first exercise for you today is to define who your target customer is. You need to be as specific as possible. To do this, think about the following things. What's their age, their job or educational circumstances, their family circumstance, their interests, their problems and frustrations, their goals, where they live, where do they go to get information. Anything else that you can think of relevant to them. Have a go at this. Once you've done this, you'll have created what's called your buyer persona. You can even give that persona a name. Adventurous Adam, or Discerning Dan, or Playful Paula. This will help you to review your brand promise and your visual interpretation of that. Does what you are saying and visualizing resonate with your target buyer persona? Your buyer persona plays another important role in terms of determining the characteristics and personality of your brand. To do this, there's a simple and useful exercise that you can undertake. You can use these sliders to determine what the personality of your brand needs to be in order to connect with your target buyer persona. At each end of the slider are opposite extremes. You can plot where you think your brand needs to be. This is just an example. This is where some well-known brands might sit at the opposite ends of the spectrum. When I went through this exercise with one of my customers, Freedom Brewery, who I've referred to previously in other webinars, we identified a brand personality that reflected the following traits: authenticity, passion, belief, quality, independent-minded, and expertise. We called it the spirit of freedom, our target buyer being discerning Dan, someone who valued his independence and wished to be more selective, refined, and enlightened in his choices, including that of the lager he drank. So let's take a little time out now to carry out an audit of where you are overall with your brand. You should be well on the way to developing the following aspects of your brand. You should have a clear brand promise. You should now be able to explain what your business does and how it's different from the competition. A couple of sentences. That explanation should present an immediate, memorable, and unique encapsulation of your brand promise. You should be clear on what your target, on your target buyer persona. You should be clear on your brand's personality. And knowing all this is key to creating your visual brand. My advice to you when creating your visual brand is try and use a professional graphic designer, artist, or design or marketing agency to create your visual brand. Business owners are rarely sufficient objective, self-aware, experienced, or creative in all the appropriate disciplines to carry out creating their visual brand. So please use outside people for professional help. By being clear on all the things that will make up your brand, any outside professional worth their salt should be able to interpret what you're trying to do and create a great visual interpretation of that. Remember, it's not just about logo. The Starbucks mermaid logo means nothing on its own. It's the promise that comes with that great coffee, but not only great coffee shared with friends, family, and colleagues. I'll share with you now the results of all the hard thinking for one of my clients, Freedom Brewery, and the visual interpretation of that by outside branding consultants. The Taste of Freedom concept was developed in representing the sophisticated and premium quality feel for their brand based on our buyer persona of discerning Dan. And here's the visual brand execution of that. Once you're comfortable with your visual brand, you then need to think about communicating it to attract your customers. This is where your buyer persona comes in again. Where does your buyer persona go to find out information about your product or service? What marketing channels do they use? Social media? If so, which ones? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube? Do they go to trade shows or fairs? Or do they like receiving emails or traditional mail in the form of brochures or flyers? This will determine which marketing channels you use. At Freedom, we knew that discerning Dan had a tendency to use Twitter and attend beer festivals, so that's where we applied our efforts. We increased our Twitter following from 2,500 followers to 9,500 followers during this time. The thing is that most people prefer to receive information visually. 90% of information that comes to the brain is visual. Visual content is 50% more persuasive than written content. This is where your visual brand comes into its own, the consistent application of all that across all of your marketing. So when you think about your marketing channels, think about how you deliver your message visually. Here's a few suggestions. Use plenty of images. Use original images, especially those of customers. Videos are all great also. They receive 300% better conversion than static posts. Explain the videos about what you do, or customer testimonials go down really well. They should be 2 minutes or under. Infographics are also a great way to present information. You can present relevant data in an easy, intelligible way. The power of visual content is set out. in this really good example of an infographic. And a lot of this visual imagery you can do yourself. There's some great software out there like Canva for pictures and Fiverr and Promo for video. I'm going to finish off this session with how Freedom did it, how they brought the brand to life visually. Essentially, it was highly visual messaging based on targeting discerning Dan and the promise of the spirit of freedom, where it's all about taste, freshness, independence, choice, simplicity, and naturalness. Here's a typical highly visual Twitter post. And so to add to the brand audit are two more questions. The last two here. Do you have an effective set of visual elements? And are your visual elements of your communications used consistently across your customer touch points in your marketing? Once you have positive answers to these two things, along with everything else we've covered, you're all set to go and bring your brand to life. Thank you for listening and viewing, and good luck with your branding endeavours.